So the map is a layering concept, right? We want to be able to, once we figure stuff out, not have to think about it really again. Just know where things are and drop right in. That's the whole point of this. Yeah, it's a little bit tedious in the beginning, but it's really developing this infrastructure that you can just walk through open doors. That's the concept, right? Do the work in the beginning, open all the doors, and then just walk through them because it's much easier than stopping each time. So the first sort of energetic phase of the day, whether you're looking at the meridian wheel in Chinese medicine or chronobiology, you're going to find that the first of the energy systems that's up, which wave is up for the day, the first one is the first one that's up is the respiratory system. So the first energy system that sort of kicks in as we wake up and get going, depending on when we wake up, is the respiratory system. So it's pretty much kicking in from 3 to 7 a.m. So there's a little bit of bleed in right there, but from 3 to 7 a.m., our ability to take deep breaths in our respiratory system and so in Chinese medicine, the respiratory system is a combination of, we're gonna have the lungs, right? The skin and the large intestine. So makes sense, right? We wake up in most traditions, right? Read any tradition, no matter what topic it is or on which branch of teaching it is, they're going to say do breath work or meditation early in the morning. This sort of explains why breath work is so powerful early in the morning, first thing, right? So we want to be able to activate our respiratory system when the energy is the highest, right? So again, it's like an ocean. The high tide for respiration or breathing is between 3 and 7 a.m. Okay? So if we can do our breath work early in the day, we're going to activate our respiratory system. It's like stretching out that muscle or that balloon for the rest of the day. Once we've stretched it, when the waves is already in the high tide, it's already stretching it up the most energy is available. So when we take advantage of that, it's the easiest with the biggest payoff, right? So we can do breath work at any time in the map, but again, think investing. If you can do respiratory and breath work between 3 and 7, it's like 3 times the payout if we were investing right than doing it maybe at 6 p.m. It's still good to do it. Anytime is good. Anytime is good. But if we're trying to build a respiratory system and a healthy body, the first thing we do is pull in fresh air and oxygen, right? The pulling in is the key no matter what topic you're talking about, east, west, research, science, however you're looking at it. Being able to pull in fresh air helps us get centered and focused, so it helps everything, helps our mind, our body, and our emotions, but it's also the biggest payoff. So again, if we were investing, I could say you can do breath work here or here, but you get 3 times the payoff here as you do here. We always want to take the 3 times the payoff, right? So respiratory system is highest from 3 to 7, and that's when we want to do breath work. We do a lot of Qigong and breath work, right? But whatever you're doing, that's a great time, and this is the reason why we do this early. When we pull this in, breath is the quickest way to energy. Not coffee, not caffeine. Breath work is the quickest way to charge up our energy, and you're going to see that. So then from that, once we get to sort of 7 on, we're moving into the second system. Our respiratory system gets this like a high tide from 3 to 7, and then it sort of shifts to another energy system. Then the next high tide that's up from 7 sort of till, we'll say 7 to 11, but it's really sort of 7 to 9, give or take, is our digestive system. So our digestive system gets its high tide right around breakfast time, which makes sense, right? So if you say some people say they aren't hungry for breakfast, it's what you've been used to, right? So if you haven't been eating breakfast and you say you're not hungry, your digestive juices are still the strongest from 7 to 11, especially early in that window, 7 to 9. So it's the respiratory system, remember, which contains the skin, the lungs, and the large intestine. It's a great time to move, do breath work, and to go to the bathroom, right? So it's when we excrete, large intestine think we're letting out before we take back in. Sort of the principle of a lot of Eastern stuff is empty the cup and then fill it back up, right? We don't want to put, if you had a cup and it had mud in it and you kept pouring fresh new water, it's going to be murky. So we want to empty our cup. That's what we do in Qigong and all these movements. We empty it and then we fill back up with good energy. Same here. So we do our breath work and our respiratory system and our large intestine are active. So we go to the bathroom, we excrete, we go number one, number two. We sort of empty out before we fill back up. It doesn't have to be, but that's sort of the natural evolution of how we work. So as we go into the digestive system during breakfast and lunch, then eat and then sort of recover, then we move into sort of the next phase. So then we move into our next phase. Our next high tide after digestion is our cardiovascular system from sort of more like 11 to 3 in most research. Sort of 11 to 3, but you can do it earlier because our heart rate and our heartbeat really get up during this time. So it's not a great time necessarily to do hard cardiovascular training because it's already so present, right? Like the high tide is up. It's really active. We don't want to exhaust ourselves here because we have this whole time to recover. So this window, we can sort of train our cardiovascular system, or circulation is sort of the real goal. We're trying, with our cardiovascular system being more available, we want to train circulation. We want to activate our circulatory system so everything is easier the rest of the day, right? Cardiovascularly speaking, our ability to connect and flow our capillaries, everything is open and pumping and flowing. So it doesn't necessarily have to be cardiovascular training, but when the cardiovascular system is up, we can do Qigong or calisthenics or do cardio type stuff, but it all will sort of train our cardiovascular system because it's the wave of the highest tide is up for that. So you can see now we're starting to have a natural flow to our systems. Our respiratory system this wave is up first, then our digestive system's wave is up, then our cardiovascular system is up. You're starting to see our energy systems having a different rhythms of their own. We have systems of systems. And with our cardiovascular system being up and our blood pumping really well and we sort of feel loosened up, because that's what it does when we get our blood flowing, we loosen up. Our endocrine system is sort of next up. For us, that's going to be stretching, right? So if we try to do deep, hard stretching in the morning, and we haven't pulled in good breath work and we haven't opened up our circulatory system and cardiovascular system, it's not going to feel great, right? Especially if you haven't stretched in a while. But if we've done our breath work, we've done our cardiovascular and just gotten our circulation up a little bit, and our heart rate is usually 10 or 12 beats higher here than here, right? At least, or sometimes even from here to here. This is sort of our peak heart rate. Now, once we've already done this, we don't have to do a ton of cardiovascular during this time. We can take advantage of the cardiovascular system being open and pumping and work our endocrine system, which is sort of our stretching. So it can be pretty mild. It doesn't have to be much. We can do walk, we can do whatever, but this is a good time to sort of get our stretching for the day, especially around our hips and our waist. We've been sitting too much. So we'll go into that later, but just know that now our endocrine system is up. So once we've stretched and been able to open up cardiovascular, endocrine, we can move into the next phase. And the next system that's up then is our nervous system. So in a ton of research, a lot of records, world records are set from 3 to 7, right? So our nervous system, its high tide is up from 3 to 7. What does that mean for us? That means for us our strength, our ability to do strength training or to feel strong, right? If we're gonna say we're gonna lift weights, all times are okay, but if we want to be strong, we're going to naturally be much stronger here than we are here, right? So if you wake up and do weights to get before, let's use an example, lifting weights. If you're going to wake up and lift weights before you go to work, if you've done that before to just start your day, or if you did it after work, they both have benefits, but I'm just talking purely about the nervous system. Our strength will be higher from 3 to 7, okay? Because our nervous system's wave is up. Our nervous system is our reactivity, how quick our nervous system is, our ability to turn on and turn off and create strength, right? Now, if we've been sitting and not doing anything all day, and then we go and try to be strong, but we haven't loosened up, and our endocrine system, we haven't stretched, and our cardiovascular system isn't opened up, and our capillaries and everything are flowing, we might get hurt, right? And that's where you go to the gym and you're like stiff, or you try something, you're like, oh, I'm so stiff. So if we want to be strong here and take advantage of this, we want to use the system. We pull in breath work, we activate our cardiovascular system, we stretch and loosen up, and now it's so easy by the time we get to this to go into strength. It's so easy. It doesn't have to be hard, but we can go in and just do a little bit of strength work or a lot, whatever, because we've activated all the things that lead up to a good strength session. If you're young, when you're younger, when I was a kid, we would do some breath work, cardio warm up, and stretch all right before the gym, at 3 or 4 in the afternoon. So that's good too. But we're spreading it out throughout the day, so each has its own sort of ideal time. And then you could squeeze in a little bit all here, or just go right into your strength work, depending on how you feel and the choices you make within your strength work. So you could see respiratory system, digestive system, cardiovascular system leads to endocrine system, leads to nervous system. And now we start to cycle back around. So our digestive system is our muscular system. So our digestive and muscular systems are on two ends of the same string, so to speak, right? So they are sort of working together, but our digestive energy is peaking. Our wave is highest from 7 to 11, and then a little bit less, and it's really low around this time. That's why we don't want to eat a bunch of, that's why they say eat your meals bigger, medium, smaller, because our digestive energy is greater, a little bit less, least, right? So one of the ways to sort of work with that is our muscular and digestive system are integrated. So as we work on our muscular system, our energy feels pretty good for that. Think about every gym in the world, every high school boy, anything. That's the time people, are all going to any gym and they're really pumping their muscles, right? And just so building their muscles. So it doesn't have to be, it can be that, but it's really the arm lines and just stretching out is sort of helps with the digestive system, because it sort of pulls all the nutrients back into that because they're on the same system. So afterwards, this sort of helps get this a little bit more into this. So our digestive energy is pretty low around dinner time, depending when you have it, but in general, it's low compared to the morning and lunch. So muscular system, digestive system, interconnected. So when we do a little bit of muscular system work, it pumps those nutrients back in and we can digest more easily and get more out of it. So again, huge benefit. Not that you can't do that then, but if you're going to try to, if you ever go try to get a nice upper body pump or workout in the morning, it doesn't quite feel as full and easy as it does in the afternoon, right? So now we're gonna, those are the 5 primary, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because these are integrated, right? So our 5 primary energy systems. And we're gonna use these in many ways throughout the whole course, right? But using it within the map, the 5 energy systems now each has their own allocated ideal wave. And I didn't make this up, right? This is part of Eastern culture traditions, the wheel, the meridian wheel, peak times, and chronobiology. And this is why a lot of times I think when they do chronobiology studies, they're like, oh wow, people have really good breathwork practices during this time. Oh, the respiratory system is easiest, right? Oh, we digest easiest during this time. Our blood pressure and heart rate are up more during this time. Our strength and our reflexive quickness is greatest during this time. So these are natural occurring phenomenon, and we may be tapped into it, we may not, but it's there, right? So we can, like I said, again, a lot of people are just gonna go and do this one lift after, maybe say they're gonna lift after work here, and they'll do maybe a little bit of breathing, They're going to do a 5-minute bike ride or get a little bit warmed up, then do a couple stretches, then they go into sort of this phase. So you can see this plays out on a micro scale and a macro scale, right? The macro scale of the day and the micro scale of how someone might organize it just before the session if that's all they do. So you can always follow it. So if you can only get the one in, you could still follow the same principles, but ideally you're able to allocate those 15 to 20 minutes or even 10 minutes or 5 minutes to each of these in these ideal times at the day pulls so we can take advantage of them. When we move down to here, we're more into the recovery stage. We don't really have, in Western terms, there's not really a word for this. In Eastern terms, it's called the triple warmer. So in Eastern traditions, there's an organ system that is not even necessarily developed in the West or understood. There's some talk that a new organ system was found in their association to the triple warmer, but in general, it doesn't really matter, right? As we move from this more into the recovery at night, our body is sort of about balancing out. Heat naturally rises, right? It doesn't, as above, so below, as within, so without, is the phrase, right? So we know that heat rises, and heat rises within us the same way it does as we can observe it. So as heat and energy rise throughout the day, rises up to our head, and sometimes it's hard to sleep because all of those thoughts and things move up into our brain. It has to process all of that stuff. So in the triple warmer and with the healing sounds, we help to bring it back down and clear it out, right? So we have a lot of available head energy, which is good for what we talked about before, being able to dream and think about travel and stuff. But when we want that to chill back down when we're getting ready to go to bed, we'll do day pull number 6, or the last one, night pull, I guess, is the triple warmer or the healing sound. So we're going to cleanse all of these organs that have built up a little bit extra energy throughout the day, bring them back in, just keep the good, recycle the old and the bad, or the stuff we don't want, the garbage, and then bring healing sounds down and clean. And so we'll have a nice, crisp, cool sleep to recover and start the cycle back over, right? And so there's a lot of continuity. We're going to play with, again, just first understanding the continuity and seeing it. And then as we get used to it, we evolve into rolling allocation, right? So we may do a little bit more of each one of these on different days of the week, right? So respiratory system might be Monday, a little more breath work. We're not really focused on digestive, right? Cardiovascular day, Tuesday might be a little bit more focused on the cardio. Wednesday might be your deep sort of stretch, really loosen up for the week. Thursday, strength, right? Friday might get that light, really good pump, just kind of feel good going into the weekend. And that's sort of just a concept, an idea of how within the micro of the day, we keep the principles and rollingly allocate them throughout the weeks. So we get repetition while keeping our inner structure. Because that's key. We want to be able to keep our inner structure, our understanding, because we don't have to think too much. We want to be able to, once we figure this out, rolling allocation, open doors, right? So here is another version of the map, right? So extremely important. This is our energy systems. When our energy systems are at their high tides each. We have our 5 basic energy systems, right? These two are connected. So respiratory system, cardiovascular system, endocrine system, nervous system. These are connected. And then triple warmer is a different system. We can call it whatever we want, but our heat rises up to our head. We're cleansing that, right? We can use our mind after we've thought a lot and cleanse it out. So this is the map of our energy systems within a day. I hope this is awesome. I hope this is not too overwhelming. Don't worry about it. That's what the journal's for. You just do the right thing at the right time and the right thing happens.